Alright YouTube, I'm going to do a video about how to wire speakers and subwoofers and explain the difference between wiring in series and wiring in parallel and the different ohm loads you can get. I'll begin by just showing you the basics of wiring. This is a 6.5 mid and bass driver with a 4 ohm voice coil. If you hook this up to the amp will get a 4 ohm load, and every one of your car audio amps is stable at 4 ohms. In fact, I've never seen an amplifier that's not stable at 4 ohms. They might be out there, but it's very rare. Another 4 ohm speaker. Okay, now if you wire these two together, you can either get an 8 ohm load or a 2 ohm load. If you wire in parallel, you'll get a 2 ohm load. If you wire in series, you'll get an 8 ohm load. To wire in parallel is probably the easier one to remember. You take the positive input from the amp to the positive on this speaker, the negative input from the amp to the negative on this speaker, then the positive on this speaker over to the positive here, the negative from the speaker over to the negative here. Your speakers are wired in parallel, and you've dropped the ohm rating to 2 ohms. Make sure your amplifier is stable at the lower impedance. You will get more power, but if it's not rated to drop the impedance that low, your amp will heat up and eventually turn off, and you can actually burn out your amplifier, which is not good. If you wire in series, you will take the positive to the positive of this speaker here, the negative to the negative, and then you take the positive to this speaker's negative, take this speaker's negative to its positive, and then this positive back to this one's negative, okay? I don't feel like repeating that. If you want to hear it again, rewind the video. Okay, that would wire the speakers in series, wire the voice coils in series, and you would then have an 8 ohm load. I don't know why you'd want to wire in series, because amps are you just don't get as much power at 8 ohms, but if you ever wanted to, that's how you do it. Now, some subwoofers, in fact, I think most subwoofers actually have what are called dual voice coils. Basically, the subwoofer has 2 voice coils, kind of wrapped into one. It's goofy looking, but they have 2. Very common one is dual 4 ohm coils. That gives you flexibility with what your ohm rating you want it to have. You can either have an 8 ohm load if you wire your voice coils in series, or a 2 ohm load if you wire them in parallel. Okay, basically, let's pretend that this is a subwoofer, okay? On your dual voice coil woofers, or what are called DVC woofers, dual voice coil, you'll see 2 sets of terminals, okay? If you wire them in the way I just explained, you can drop or raise the ohm load, okay? Now, if you have dual 2 ohm coils, you can get a 4 ohm load or a 1 ohm load. So basically, dual ohm voice coil subwoofers give you more flexibility when wiring. Just make sure you wire them right. Okay. Now, let's say you have 2 different dual voice coil subwoofers. Okay, let's say you have an amp that pushes, maybe 1,000 watts into 1 ohm, and you have 2 dual 4 ohm voice coil woofers. How do you wire that to get the best out of the amp? Well, you'd wire everything in parallel. You'd start by wiring your speaker in parallel, positive to positive, negative to negative, and then over to the positive, negative to negative. And you do it with the other speaker, and then you'd take the input from the amp and just basically wire it to the positive and the negative here, and then kind of daisy chain that positive over to the other speaker's positive, the negative over to the negative speaker's positive. You'd have a 1 ohm load. Okay? So basically, if you wire in parallel, you cut the ohm load in half, and you wire in series, you double the ohm load. There's some fancy amps out there that are stable at half an ohm or 7/8 of an ohm, but those are probably really expensive. The 1 ohm, some amps aren't even stable that low. Your cheapest amps will not be stable below 4 ohms. They don't like dropping low. There's also really high-end amps that only push power at 4 ohms because it's cleaner. But those are really high-end audiophile amps. My favorite thing to do is buy a strong amp that goes down to 1 ohm and wire your subs appropriately. Now, I went into so much detail about wiring because I remember when I was learning how to wire my subwoofers and speakers, and I was so afraid of messing up and thinking that, oh my gosh, if I mess up, then geez. It's really not that difficult. Just make sure that you take your time. When you're wiring subwoofers, I recommend using 12 gauge wire, but don't get roped into buying the let's say, the speaker wire that they sell at the audio store. The audio stores in my city are Custom Sounds and Audio Express. And you buy the Tsunami speaker wire. Tsunami makes decent products, but they rip you off, okay? You get like 15 feet of 12 gauge, they're going to want $25 for. It's like, what the hell? Go to AutoZone and buy a 50-foot wheel of 12 gauge wire. This is going to cost you maybe $10. And what you do is you just kind of cut the wire and then you twist it together, and there you got speaker wire. Just make sure you mark which one's the positive one and which one's the negative. When I was first starting out, I thought speaker wire was special. Unless you're buying really, really, really expensive speaker wire, it's not special. Just make sure you get a low enough gauge to handle the power. I'm pushing 1,000 watts continuous. I use 10 gauge speaker wire. Probably could get by with 12, but hey, I found a good deal on 10 and I'm sticking with it. Okay. So, yeah, basically that's how you wire subs and stuff. Not very hard to do. Just take your time when you do it and you'll be fine. Oh boy, anything else I want to talk about here? Not really. I could probably think of something, but who knows? Alright, I'm going to bitch about JL Audio for a second. Most subwoofers are convenient with what ohm load they produce. They're either 4 ohm woofers or dual voice coil woofers. The JLW7 has a 3 ohm voice coil. Now, why would you make a subwoofer with a 3 ohm voice coil when every single amp you look at is, rated to push power at 2 ohms or 1 ohm? JL Audio wants you to buy their highly overpriced JL 1000/1 amp, which will push 1,000 watts into 4 ohms, 3 ohms, 2 ohms, or 1 ohm. And buy that would be the absolute perfect match for the 13W7, which, as you might have guessed, is rated to take 1,000 watts RMS. If you want to power a W7 with a different amp, you'll need something that pushes maybe 1,500 at 2 ohms. So when it gets a 3 ohm load, it'll push something in the range of 1,000 watts continuous. That's the beef I have with JL Audio. JL Audio makes great stuff, okay? the W7 is one of the best woofers out there if you want to be loud and sound real good doing it. But they're setting you up to buy their amp, okay? MSRP price for a 13W7 JL 1000/1, you're looking at almost $2,500 for your sub and your amp. That's before wires, that's before the enclosure, that's before, install cost if you want to go that way. So basically, JL Audio, I think it rips you off. I think people who buy JL Audio are either uneducated or just friggin' rich. Because I can tell you how to build a system that'll sound as good as the JL Audio system, or be a hell of a lot louder for the same price, okay? Plain and friggin' simple. There is no reason for those woofers to be that expensive other than people think JL Audio is the god of car audio, and they buy it for that reason. I'm not saying JL Audio is bad. JL Audio makes great stuff. I would love to run about 4 W7s. Yeah, in my dreams when I get rich. Until then, I will buy cheaper stuff that's good. All right. Oh, my shirt. This is a Phi car audio shirt. You got it off their website. I thought it was kind of cool looking, so I bought one. Which is sort of funny because I don't even run Phi products anymore. I got two 15 MB Quart premium woofers with a Cadence TXD 1008 amp power in them, 1,000 watts continuous in a box that's 5.5 cubic feet sealed. And I gotta say, it sounds great. Peaks at about 40 cycles and the car will shake. Boom, boom, boom. Thumbs up. Alright, so hopefully, you learned how to wire subwoofers, you listened to my rant about JL Audio, and you increased your knowledge before you went out and spend a shitload on stuff you don't need. Good luck.